Thou art the Most High, the one and only from which we emanate. Thou art the sacred ancestors. Second installment. I have outgrown the neo-colonizer and imperialist shackles. Yebo. Hearken unto the truth, dear African families, for truth is liberation. It is critical that we look at the imperialist and the neo-colonizer with an objective historical, biological, and psychological mirror, else perpetual servitude will be our destiny. For when you consent to people to dominate you mentally, spiritually, and psychologically, they covertly implant a spirit in you. And of course, that spirit represses your innate spirit. Oh, that spirit takes over your body, takes over your desires, takes over your behavior, takes over your perceptions to carry out their wishes. And in the end, you become your own enemy. Thus, you become the imperialist, you become the neo-colonizer. I shall preface with a caveat. I shall be forthright with the truth, for at this stage in our people development, we are blindly basking in the deceptive sunlight of Europe, of America, and Arabia, that which creates and maintains our retardation. And if any here doubt my veracity, I implore you to invest every ounce of your intellect in diligently checking and testing my account for any imbalance. And if you find my accounts to be in exactitude, I hereby indict you to put away childish things and stand on truth. Conversely, if there's error in my part, I shall publicly acknowledge and correct my ways. My dear African families, allow me to peel off the layers of the sophisticated pretext of the imperialist and neo-colonizer. Allow me to reveal their subterfuge. Allow me to expose their chicanery. For they are the masters of deception. Their alchemy is to be admired and studied. And unless we diligently study the minds and the brief history of our enemies, and they are our enemies, we shall forever languish at their behest. I shall undress these savage power structures and their African gatekeepers, masked as beacons of light that keep us in a state of arrested underdevelopment. For no African state can claim development nor independence, not one. Give them back their slave religions and you will be free. Give it to them. Give them back their neo-colonial and imperialist education and you will be free. The imperialist agenda is economic and political domination in the most ruthless manner imaginable, in order to soften the ground for the second stage of their conquest. The imperialist is a capitalist who masquerades under the flag of religion, under the flag of education, under the flag of progress. The imperialist is an economic predator, morally bankrupt souls. The love of materialism have blighted their souls to obscurity. The neo-colonizer's agenda is spiritual and psychological domination. That is the final stage of their conquest. The neo-colonizer is either a Christian or a Muslim, religion being their most potent political, spiritual, and economic weapon. Religion is their cash cow, and education is their insurance policy. And these two rogue power structures are kith and kin. Am I conceding Christianity and Islam, religions founded upon the African spiritual system, to the marauding imperialist and neo-colonizer? Oh yes, I must. For they have corrupted and bastardized our spiritual systems, so much so that they have become a blight to our existence. And no doubt that I will be impeached by the unthinking, fanatical, hybrid African defenders of the imperialist and neo-colonizer power structures. Oh, I can see my ignorant fambles launching their vitriol in defense of their masters, enemy of progress, rebel rouser, they bellow. Water up a duck's back, I say. Oh, I concede that revolutionary work is lonesome and painful. It is my obligation conferred by the sacred ancestors to pledge myself unto the last drop of my blood in the liberation war for the minds of my people. I repeat, truth is a liberator. Truth is a cure. One fine day you will know the truth, and lo and behold, the truth shall set you free. Ashe. If not, death in shackles will most certainly be your lot. My remit is not to lull my beloved brothers and sisters into fatal security. Nay, motivational platitudes and ego climaxing are the very things that blind us from our degraded and retrograde reality. What shall I say about the artful, dodging chameleons called imperialist and neocolonizer? They have refined their savage ways to a scheming, sophisticated artistry for greater effect upon their victims. They hide under the canopy of religion, education, progress, assimilationism, multiculturalism, liberalism, integrationalism, universalism, materialism, and all those other deadly isms that ought to be wasms in our convoluted minds. The imperialist no longer needs to occupy the land of their victims. They transfigure into the neocolonizer. The neocolonizer is a modern version, an updated, sophisticated version of the imperialist. The neocolonizer no longer needs to convince their victims of their delusional supremacy, for they incarnate in the flesh of their victims. They mastered the art of spiritual surgical implant. Religion and education being the seed implanted in their victims to engender docility and perpetual servitude. The imperialist is the material emperor of Africa, and the neocolonizer is the child of the imperialist who brings a new meaning to the word chicanery. The neocolonizer is the spiritual and psychological emperor of Africa. The imperialist and neocolonizer are parasites, material and psychological vampires whose survival is predicated upon the destruction and underdevelopment of their host, and that is Africa and Africans. And today the imperialist and neocolonizer emperors shall be stripped naked. For I shall leave no doubt in the minds of my chronically ignorant African fambles, nor shall I leave a speck of incertitude in our dewy eyes. For some of us are so bamboozled by the camouflage regalia of these scheming emperors that we end up becoming the incarnate woe. These plundering, morally and spiritually bankrupt emperors are the greatest threat to our survival and advancement. They are our arch enemy.